Welcome everyone. Today I'm chatting with Chiesa. Did I say that right?
You said it, you got it perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. So Chiesa joined Foundations about 2 months ago. And when he joined, he was stuck in fulfillment as well as stuck at about the same revenue for a couple years with little to no profit margins.
Yes.
But he jumped in headfirst, trusted the process, and now is already discovering new revenue streams. And by about the 6-week mark, had generated over 10K from his program with 3 people ready to go through his pilot and experiencing a healthy pipeline. So, Chiesa, take about 2 minutes and share with the audience a little bit about you and who you serve and what you do.
Yeah, so I was running what I call a merchandise company or merchandise agency. So what we would do is help people to design and create their own clothing and merchandise products. But it was very sort of one-on-one. Every customer or client that we took on, it's a one-on-one delivery project, and there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of variables in that. So it was like, someone wants 250 t-shirts, then you got to get the sample done, you got to do the spec, you got to change their artwork if it needs it, and then when they get the sample, making adjustments, and then ordering the stock, sending it to this printer, that print. There's just a lot that goes on in the process. So to do that for at one point 40 people at a time with such a small team, it's heavy operational burden, and if something goes wrong, as it does in fashion, the delivery ends up somewhere it shouldn't be, or one of the partners that we've outsourced to makes a mistake, etc. It holds us back by a lot. So that was it was making it really hard to grow the business, and the margins weren't growing along with the demand. So obviously I've been doing this for about 13 years now. So I've been in the game quite a long time, and it's just got to a point where I was like, okay, well, in order for me to grow the business, I can't do it with this business model because it's just too much operational drag, and it's not really rewarding. I figured, all right, cool. Well, all the knowledge is there, and what most of the brands that come to us want is to either launch their brand or to grow it. So I thought, well, we've got the knowledge there in the team and in my network. Why don't we, and I came across Greg's videos. I went down a rabbit hole, and I thought, right, this seems like exactly what I need. So, a change in business model was actually a pretty good idea. I'd actually first thought of the program like last year. I read Alex Hormozi's book, the $100 Million Office, and then I started working on it, and I just parked it. God knows why. But yeah, when I saw Greg's content and what you do at Alt Agency, I was like, okay, this is actually me. Like, I actually do kind of run an agency here. I don't necessarily recognize it as that at the time. And I would love to experience the results that your clients get. So yeah, that's a bit about me and what we've done, and what we've been and what we're hoping to turn into.
Yeah. So if you were to sum it up, what would you say? How would you say what you do now is, who you serve, and what you do now? Kind of in a summary.
I love being asked that question now because it's so simple that we help people to launch their brands from scratch. Like, we help people to launch their clothing brand from scratch. That's really it. It's a 9-step process. It's clearly defined. And if you're someone who you've got an idea, you've never done this before, or you've tried to do this before and it hasn't worked out, and you recognize that there's a gap in skills, knowledge, expertise, contacts to get you from the dream of a clothing brand to something that's actually, launched, ready to sell. That's what we do. We help you with that and everything in between. So it's pretty straightforward.
Perfect. I love that. So let's dig in a little bit more to those kind of parts of it. So what do you think the biggest, I know there was a lot of variables and a lot of moving parts before you joined. What would you say the biggest problem that we talked about specifically when you first came to us was?
Biggest one, I would say cash flow, but taking away cash flow is a symptom of something that's wrong in the business, right? It's the fact that I just couldn't, each new customer didn't solve the problem. Mm-hmm. So I was struggling with service delivery, really. I was struggling to deliver services to my customers because cash flow was becoming an issue. And because cash flow was an issue, I had to sell more, but then it's like, with each new sale and without the margin there, it was just kind of like a death spiral. So it just made it really difficult to even focus and really serve people in the way that we would like to.
Yeah.
So yeah, service delivery really is that was the huge bottleneck. Like we were at just over a 250,000 in sales, and you know, I wanted to get it to 1 million in sales, but it's like if I scale this business times 4, that's, you know, that's unbearable really with the kind of operational driven lifestyle that brings. So that was the struggle for me, just actually serving people at that level and serving them well was really difficult.
Yeah. And you spoke a little bit to this, but before you started, was it all one-on-one delivery? How were you delivering it?
Yeah, pretty much. Like we had a range of services. So we had our consulting service. So often I'd get asked people, oh, can I come down and see the fabrics, etc. And so what I started to do was just charge people. Like, well, if you want to come and see us and meet someone, and you know, you want to take time out of our day, you can pay for it, which is fine. A lot of people did. We had our design session. So if people wanted to jump on a Zoom call and then just actually start creating designs on the spot, and we'd do that with them. We'd design people's collections for them, and then we would get them manufactured. But we were operating as like a middleman in that regard, where we would outsource their work and we'd make our margin in between. But yeah, all of it was pretty much one-on-one. So if you imagine if someone can only comfortably deal with maybe 8 projects at a time, but we were taking on average 16 a month, then, you know, you hit a critical point where you can only serve so many people at one time so well. Yeah, it just wasn't sustainable. And the only way to grow your business with that model is to add more people, but then that comes with wages
Lots of other things. Absolutely.
Right. So yeah.
Okay. So out of curiosity, what did your sales process look like before?
Pretty straightforward. Someone would inquire, so they'd reach out via whichever means, whether it's word of mouth, DMs or whatever. They'd be directed to fill out an inquiry form on our website, which is, you know, fairly detailed. That form asks us a lot of the information up front that allows us to pre-qualify people. So we would ask for their designs, the quantities that they want, when they want it by, and you know, what roughly their budget range is as well. So these are just easy qualifying things that just avoid us wasting time talking to people that would be inappropriate for that service. So, you know, once they filled out that form, they would either fill out that form or they would book a call, which has the same questions, but they get us on a call instead. And then we just, whatever information is missing, we'll just get to the bottom of it, you know. So we'd say, all right, cool. Well, your designs, do they have designs? If they do, then yes, they're qualified for the production service. If they want, they might say, oh, we just want samples. Okay, well, do you want samples and then you're going to place an order, or like, what's the plan here? If they want to order samples and then they're not sure, it's a sign that they're auditioning us against 11 other people or something, right? So we just be like, well, look, our minimum is X amount, so you have to order X amount of each product. Sure. Would you be looking to order at least X amount of this product? If the answer is no, or they're not sure, or something that indicates that they actually don't have a budget, or they're not intending to work with us, like they're not trying to work with us, then we say, well, look, before we give you a quote for anything, you know, you need to be qualified to use the service. So we're not going to waste our time putting together a quote or a proposal. So we'd basically qualify them. If they're qualified, we give them a quote. And then we'd follow up with them, hopefully within a few days, just see if they're going to go for it. Then you go back and forth. You might change some stuff on their proposal. And then once they accept it, they put a down payment down, or they make a payment, and then we start the service. So that was what the sales process was before.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. And before Foundation's process, how much time would you say you were spending on fulfillment?
A ton. It was like, it's hard to even gauge, because you wake up on a sunny Tuesday morning like we have today, and you think it's all, you know, roses and dandelions, and then there's a fire to put out because someone sends you a long email. Hey, I got my order, but, you know, 7 t-shirts are wrong, and here's some pictures of them. And now you've got to deal with that. Now that takes your time up instead of actually doing stuff that grows a business. Because, and it's a unexpected, unforeseen customer service issue you've got to deal with, right? And oftentimes it's because some third party or someone on the team in the print studio did something that messed up, and you're only hearing about it from the customer. Right. So to serve the customer, you kind of got to respond to them, and you almost got to be reactive to protect your reputation and to make sure that the customer is right done by. So fulfillment, if you imagine that spread across 40 people or however many people at one go, because various projects take various amounts of time, you get drowned in service delivery. So a lot of time gets taken up by that. And when you're doing service delivery, you're not doing growth. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So kind of taking all of that, everything that you just said, framing the picture before this process, how is that impacting other areas of your life?
Oh man. In a few ways, I mean, so you can end up in like a constant state of stress and anxiety because if you like, for me, I started to become kind of overwhelmed with all the service delivery issues, and I was going through a lot. I had to lay off team members, and a ton of stuff was going on at once. So that wasn't great. Wasn't really able to show up in my personal life for people that I care about as well, because I'm dealing with that issues in the business in terms of the finances, customer service, etc., putting out fires. So yeah, it just wasn't really healthy. I couldn't imagine scaling the business and amplifying more of that side of things because it was just very overall quite negative, because the operational burden, there's less resource to deal with the issues that come up in the business than is required with that model. So yeah, it meant that not as much free time as I'd like, quite a lot of stress, not as much money. If you're an entrepreneur, you get into business, part of the reason is you want to make more money, you want to have more freedom, more wealth, and it wasn't really giving me that. So it was all kind of backwards at that point. So those are some of the impacts, I would say.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. All right, so let's fast forward to when you joined Foundations. You started making some changes with us. Can you talk about that, like how it was different from what you had been doing, or what sort of mindset shift did you make, would you say?
Yeah, so I think I've always been very open that something in the business needs to change. And like I said, I had the inkling to create a version of this program before I joined. I just didn't know how. So I think I kind of came in with the mindset. I just didn't have the tools, and I didn't really know how to structure the transition between agency to consultancy in that way. But I think when I came in and when I I'd gone down the Greg Hickman rabbit hole, as it were, and everything he was saying made sense, and it spoke to the circumstances that I was in. So when I dived in, I just said, okay, cool. Well, look, if they've done this with over 500 people, and there's people in this program now that are going through the process, etc., let me just trust it and follow it, because there's nothing that Greg has said that doesn't make sense to me, or doesn't seem like it would get the result. So let me just trust it. Yeah, I think I just went in and said, yeah, I'm just gonna try this. I'm gonna go all in. This guy obviously knows what he's doing. He's been me at some point, so he knows the pain, and he's created the solution. And not only has he created the solution, he's helped others with it. So my mindset really was just coming into it like, okay, well, how the business is going at the time, it's definitely not what I want for the future. I haven't got any better ideas than this. So I might as well just dive in head first, because if I spend time on this and it works, it solves all the problems that I'm experiencing. So that was my mindset towards it. Just give it my all, really.
Absolutely. And that you have, it's been very apparent. It's been awesome to see. So digging in a little bit more to that, are there any specifics that stand out to you about, you said the mindset was there, which I could tell, but you didn't have the tools. Are there any specific tools or methods that stood out to you that helps you do things differently now than before?
Every part of the training had something that I could use to inform what I do and how I structure things. So for instance, one of the first things Greg gets us to do is become CEO, right? Designing your perfect week. I've actually since revised my first version of that, because as time has gone on, I've started to get customers in. I've started to look at, okay, how is my life going to be structured now? And that helps me to really see that, okay, well, there's really three things that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing sales, so discovery calls and following up and closing people. That's one category of activities I'm in the business. Second is generating leads, so marketing, creating content, posting, reaching out to people on DMs. And then the third is actually creating the content, the tools, resources, and delivering the program, so service delivery, but for the new business model. So my new life looks like doing that, at least in the short term.
Yeah.
So, the become CEO section, and more specifically the perfect week calendar template that Greg had, that Greg created, helped me to it also helped me to do something else that really like look at time as units, and help me to say, all right, well, I've only got so much time in the week. So if I pre-structure how I'm going to use that time, and I know what I can get out of that time for my customers and for my business, it will actually help me to structure my life better. So that was one really, really helpful tool amongst others. But yeah, that was one of the first things, and it's helped me a lot.
That is perfect. I love that example. Thank you. All right. So what does fulfillment, or what will fulfillment? I know that you just got your first 3 validating clients. So what will fulfillment look like for you now?
So it's fortnightly group Q&A calls. So we're starting with every 2 weeks. I've got my next one in 2 days, actually. It's blocking time out to actually create the content, tools, and resources for my members, or the participants in the program. So lesson planning, recording videos, writing scripts, and creating or organizing tools and templates. So yeah, it's doing that. And then so you said what does service delivery look like, right? So it's those 2 things, and then also just mentoring people. So one of the things that we've included in our program, at least for the first cohort, is one-to-one mentoring once a month. So people can book in, schedule time in their calendars where I can actually have a one-to-one catch up with them, just to see how things are going. And I think that's really important in the beginning, because I want to be close to people's results, so that in the future we can look back and say, okay, well, this was the process, this is what went through, but also really get feedback along the way. But yeah, it's a lot simpler, it's a lot more predictable. I can actually schedule out what I'm creating and when, and now I've got blocks of time that I can assign to those activities as well. And it's not a reactive situation as well. Like, no one's going to pop up and say, hey, my t-shirts didn't come back right, it's your responsibility, what are you going to do about it? If that does happen to someone, it's more like, well, you need to talk to the supplier on the list that we gave you, and this is how you do it, here's some training on that. So it's a lot different. It's not less reactive and anxiety inducing, I guess. So
Yeah.
describe it.
Absolutely. I'm already hearing in just this conversation how different it is. You sound so much more structured, organized, and calm when you talk about how you're going to deliver your cohort versus everything, all the moving parts and variables you had mentioned in the kind of before. So there's a big difference in the way that you talk about it, which is really amazing. And you can absolutely, with more done with you, there's still elements of that one-on-one, and it's still as personalized as you want it to be. It's just more structured and more efficient.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Okay, so lastly in this frame, let's talk about some of the more intangible stuff, because money's great, but how has your life changed, or how do you think your business has improved? What would you say about that?
I think I'm still yet to experience because I'm still very early on. So I'm still yet to experience the impact and the long-term effects of my life actually changing, because I'm just kind of in that transition now. But one of the things I can definitely say is it feels a lot better knowing that there's revenue streams that don't have to rely on doing work that I actually don't like doing. So I feel a lot better about that, because now I can offer something that still adds value, but without having that same level of can I say, having to be so involved in the work and the doing. So that's been huge. And I think what's going to happen is that because I'll have a predetermined schedule, it will allow me to sort of plan my personal life a lot better as well. Time, obviously I've got a daughter, so I want to spend more time with my daughter and my family and my close friends, and just be able to do more fun stuff outside of work. So yeah, even just other things like fitness. I've been able to actually schedule in time for my fitness and my health. Yeah, because my time is going to be a lot more controlled. It just means that life should hopefully get a lot easier, and I can get more out of it because of my time. I can I've got a handle on what's actually happening. So that's what I'm starting to come into now, and hopefully should experience moving forward.
Beautiful. Awesome. Love that. So to recap, basically you were struggling because of the operational burden, the reactivity of, the reactive nature of how you were delivering and your fulfillment time. But now that you've got your program, your time is a lot more structured. You'll be able to plan more of your life into your time. You'll deliver more efficiently, and you'll be able to feel the rewards of that.
Yeah.
So super pumped for you. And I know this is just the beginning. You're just taking off. So amazing.
I forgot to mention something as well. So during the process of actually building the like following the program, starting to build out the offer and everything, one of the things I was able to create was a membership. So kind of like a downsell to people that can't afford my full program. So I'm charging $5,000 for people to come on at this time anyway, to come in and actually launch their brand with us. But for people that can't afford that, they can join my monthly, quarterly, or annual membership. So that way we don't, because I've got quite a big audience, well, let's say a decent sized audience and a mailing list. One of my thoughts was, okay, well, what happens with all the people that just can't make the program, right? Well, because I've built in monthly, quarterly, or annual recurring revenue into the business, which is extremely profitable as well, that's given me a bit more confidence that when I do go forth and do my emails, content, sales calls, etc., I should have something for someone who is an early stage brand owner. So even if they don't have the ability to invest in my full program at that time, they can still reap some of the benefits of it. They might not get as much contact time and as much exclusivity and attention, etc., but they still get some value from it. Yeah, it's just small things. If they want to be able to reduce the cost of their products as a member, they can leverage our access to reduced prices on garments because we have that connection. If they want to join a Q&A call, then they can join as a member, because every member that joins doesn't increase operational burden. Like in theory, you could have 500 members join tomorrow and it won't create more work than otherwise. So that was something else that I was able to build out, which isn't necessarily included in the program, but it made sense to do. And I'm quite fortunate that I have really quite good digital skills and that I can build my own websites and stuff like that. So I was able to build it in. I've got some members to join. So some people that couldn't make the full program, they joined as members that are paying monthly or quarterly now. And that's kind of, it's another string to the bow, as it were, where if you can't get necessarily people to join, depending on what you're doing, if you can't get people to join your full higher ticket programs, then there was still a value add in the sense that I can say, well, hey, here's this thing, so when I have the catch up call after the first sales call, I can say, well, look, have you thought about joining the membership? Do you remember that thing? If you get the annual version, then I can give you a bit of mentoring included in that as well. If you join as an annual member, we get more cash up front. It's nearly 100% margin, and they still get value. So that's something else that we've been able to bake into our new business model, where we should start to break away from the old stuff and move completely into the new stuff.
Yep, discovering those new revenue streams where you're still delivering efficiently and your time is still protected. I love that. That's perfect. Awesome. So a couple last questions. What were some of your concerns or fears when joining the program?
Just the regular stuff. You're investing and spending money on something, so you just hope it works. Because to be fully transparent, it's not as though I've had a huge pool of cash to pull from. Like I've had to use kind of some of the last money I'm able to invest in anything to do this. So it's like, I pulled the trigger pretty quickly. Like I joined on the first sales call. I didn't go away and think about it and that stuff. I joined in the first sales call. I dove in head first. But it's like, I hope this works, because I think I've tried everything else.
Yeah.
So that was the kind of feeling of it. It was like, but at the same time, it was like, okay, what else is in front of me to actually help me? This looks like it solves the exact problem that I'm having. And Greg's obviously done a great job of putting out a lot of free content as well. that points towards that this is being the solution. And for me, it wasn't necessarily a hard decision. It's just about just making the investment, just really going for it. And just if you can, then you should do it. If you're experiencing the problem, you say you want out, and or you want to do something new, you should just do it. But yeah, it was very uncomfortable. But part of the reason that I've acted so quickly is because I just don't have the time to waste. Like, it's
Time is
what
now.
else am I going to do at the time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So one last question. What would you say to someone who's maybe on the fence about working with us or joining our program?
I would say if you are delivering one-to-one services and you're sick and tired of it for one reason or another, and you're in pain, some sort of pain from it, and you know that you want, you want to, I think if you know that you definitely match the criteria of what I just said, and you want a business that works around you instead of drags you around, then you should definitely join. So if you know that you're prepared to do the work, and you understand that the investment that you're going to make is going to be returned to you through the results of following the program, just trust the team. If you trust Greg and the team, if you trust the process, if it all makes sense, and if the numbers check out, which it most likely will, just go for it. Because unless you've got a better solution in front of you, then what else is there to do? You're just going to go back to a life of doing one-on-one work, not being paid enough, being frustrated at times because you're having to do this work that you're not really passionate about, you don't care about, versus creating something with the guidance of people that have done it multiple times over, that is actually way better for not only your finances, but for your mental health and your life and your relationships. So if that's you, you have a one-to-one service, you're trying to scale, you're trying to grow, and you recognize that even if you do scale it with the current business model, it's just going to lead to more operational burden, stress, less time, less quality relationships, bad fitness, etc. Just dive in, just go for it. If you can, just do it. Like, unless you've got better ideas, unless you think you can do it on your own, which maybe you can, but it's just a lot easier when you don't have to. And just dive in, just dive in head first, just follow the process, just trust the process, trust it, just do the work.
Love that.
But if you're not willing to do the work, then there's not really much I can say. But I think I've kind of gone through the program and done it step by step. And I've started to get the results. I've had X amount of discovery calls, and 1/3 of them turned into a closed deal. Whether it was my actual full program or whether it was my membership, 1/3 of people I've spoken to have bought from me from my new offers. So just do it. Just trust the process.
I love that. I love that. Well, to your credit, you've executed, you've stayed the course, done the work. So huge congratulations again on your success up to this point. And we are so excited to see what comes into the future. So thank you, Kiza, for taking the time to share. And we're very excited to see what's next.
No problem. Thank you for having me on. And I appreciate you having this interview with me as well. It's been good to share my experiences.
It's been great to hear about it.
Cool.
All right. Well, we'll chat soon. All right.
Cool. Chat soon, Liz.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.